How you doing? I'm Brad Stinson. I'm here with my good buddy, Mike Fisher here. Mike, you do a lot of really good things for the LO community. One of the things that you do very, very well is you ask the right questions. So along those lines, if you were talking to a veteran who was air quotes pre-approved or has already talked to a lender, what kind of questions would you have that veteran ask their current lender?
Well, like we always say, Brad, ask better questions and you get better answers. So if a veteran was talking to another lender and was trying to ascertain how qualified that lender was, there's a couple really, really darn important questions. Number one, has that lender pulled the certificate of eligibility yet? We often call that certificate of eligibility a golden ticket, a piece of paper that lets the lender know you're truly eligible to use your VA home loan benefit. If your lender has not helped you get that or has not given you a copy or doesn't even seem to know what it is, that is definitely a red flag.
Huge red flag.
Red flag number one. All right, let's talk about the second piece that I think is critical. I believe that if you're working with a lender, they should have actually asked you for a fair amount of documentation to make sure that everything you verbally communicated is backed up and in writing. Items like if you're active duty and LES, or if you're working in the civilian world, your pay stubs, certainly W-2s, bank statements to show your assets, and all the kinds of documentation that will be needed throughout the process in advance. So very important to not only send those to your lender, but to confirm that your lender received them, reviewed them, and made sure that they match the program that you're applying for and the purchase price range that you're applying for.
Well, why would a veteran want to do that? Like make sure he has all the pay stubs and W-2s and bank statements in.
It sounds like a lot of work, Brad, but oftentimes you find that a property comes up and you want to move quickly and a seller is demanding that you show up with a bunch of guarantees about how quickly you can close. You may not be ready to get all that paperwork out that minute, or you may not be able to close as quickly as that seller wants because you didn't do the work up front. I think anytime that you're working with a lender as a veteran, that lender should come back to you and explain to you the moving pieces of the transaction, what the timing would look like, the average turn time might be, what steps of the transaction will happen at certain points of time in days, and also help you calculate how much cash you might need at the closing table and the initial steps, and certainly help you figure out how your payment is calculated and what your payment might be on the houses that you're looking for in the areas that you're searching. So if you find a lender that you're talking to who hasn't helped you answer any of these questions, you're uncertain about the cash flows, you're not sure about the payment range, that is again a huge red flag.
I would like to add in, you got to make sure you ask VA transactions, not just transactions. How many VA transactions have you closed, and what is your VA turn time?
Great point, Brad. The average loan officer, we know, we've looked up these stats, might only close one VA transaction every few months. So when you're working with VA specialist loan officers, you find they may be closing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 10 like you a month. Big difference in the level of attention to detail to somebody who's very familiar with the VA transaction. So very important to be specific about that question if you're a veteran who's interviewing lenders or just double checking to see how good that lender is, how quickly they might close your transaction.
What I was getting to when you were talking about pay stubs and W-2s and all the documentation, the reason why you want to ask that up front is because there's a big difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval, isn't there?
100%. Pre-approval is reviewed by an underwriter, been reviewed by the whole loan team, and much higher level of certainty, much quicker turn time upon a pre-approval versus just a pre-qualification. It was just a quick check, if you will.
Correct. So, in layman's terms, a pre-approval is verified, a pre-qualification is stated.
Correct.
Right. And sadly, the main one, the very first question, did you pull the COE? If they have not,
right,
how are they pre-approved?
Right. Now, Brad, I want to move into a very, very important part of working with any lender if you're a veteran. And I think this is a piece that gets missed a lot. It's very important to understand in today's marketplace, the VA loan in some cases still has a perception of being perhaps more complicated. While you and I know that that's not the case, and we know that the average veteran borrower is highly qualified, it's very important to at least acknowledge that that perception exists and understand, does the lender I'm working with as a veteran have a strategy to help me get my offer accepted?
Correct.
What things are they going to do to move my offer to the top of the pile? Are they going to call a listing agent? Are they going to take some of my financial strengths and help highlight those? Are they going to explain to that listing agent how quickly VA transactions close at their company? Have they branded themselves with the listing agents in their marketplace so that there's a high level of familiarity that might make that listing agent much more comfortable working with veteran clients that work with that lender? All those are extremely important questions when we're trying to decide how to move a veteran's offer to the top of the pile. And if you were that veteran, very important to work with the lender that knows how to help you from that advocacy seat.
Absolutely.
Dig it? All right, we
It's
gave
done.
you just a few quick tips. We can ramble on more, but just remember, who you work with matters. It's important to ask questions, gather information, make wise decisions, and work with folks that know the VA home loan product.